You look like you were in an accident. You can't.
I look like I was in an accident?
Yeah, you're talking.
This is going to be so bad.
Do we have a shower in this office? Because after watching that,
You can go to the sink, pal, because that was
That was
you're
bad.
going to take some time on
That was
that
actually
one.
bad.
That was bad.
Yeah.
It's got to be so hard.
Okay.
See, but that's what I'm talking about. Those are the speakers.
And we were limited to what you see there.
Like you just
That's
do
not
this?
the time. Can I just give you?
Yeah,
That's not the time to tell them you do this too.
That's not the time to tell them.
Not the time.
I do this too.
I didn't want to say it.
They go, this? You do this too?
Here's my advice: if you're a venue and you're upset by this, I get it. I'd hate me too. I get it. It's just how I'd hate me too.
Real moment.
Assume positions.
Wow. Our first threesome together.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm a little nervous.
The first triple threat match of the podcast is officially underway. So this was actually nonchalant. We weren't supposed to do all three of us.
Nope.
So there's really not much. I mean, I have topics we could talk about.
It's a lot of personalities, I'll tell you that.
That's for sure. What? You're good.
In the middle?
No, you're good. Yeah, that cuts it. You're fine.
Yeah?
You're fine. I promise you. Outtake number one.
Oh, no, we're keeping this part.
100%. This is gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a lot of editing.
Oh, it's gonna big edit job.
We promise we're going to try and stay on topic as much as possible, right?
We can't guarantee it.
Well, we're definitely going to talk about past weekend because Aldo and I had a wedding together. You did a mitzvah.
No, I was away.
Right, you attended
California.
one. You attended.
Yes.
Yes, that's why. So we're going to definitely touch base on that because we were talking about that on the drive up here. Interesting conversation with him. Actually, let's start with that because one of the conversations I wanted to have was actually when DJs attend a wedding, right? I think I'll find it. And my buddy who's going to be on the podcast, I'm pretty sure it's DJ Hi Kevin. He posted this, and I'll post it on the screen. Actually, let me record this too.
John, I got to tell you, man, I really like this setup.
This is sick.
It really is, dude. I can completely see how this is going to metamorphosize into something like beautiful.
SAT word of the day. We'll have a segment called the SAT word of the day, led by Aldo Ryan. That's what we're gonna do.
You look like you were in an accident. You can't.
I look like I was in an accident?
Yeah, you're talking.
This is going to be complete.
It's so like
This is already a
you're so
crap show.
constricted. You're in the shot. Don't worry, you can pull back.
What'd you say? Okay. I know. I
Oh my God,
just
just do this. Cool. So
Okay.
we were talking about when DJs attend a wedding. And I find it so funny because my buddy, Hi Kevin, showed this on Instagram. And I was like, this is literally, folks, this is exactly how DJs
How I
think.
feel.
Yeah. So I attended a wedding and we talked about this on one of the other podcasts in Texas from my buddy Kenny. And I ended up doing a set anyway.
How did you like that wedding?
I loved it. Primarily because it was the first wedding in a while that I actually wanted to attend. Like, those obligated weddings you have to go to, whether it's like family or, it's your wife's friend or wife's family, and you're just kind of like, you're going into the motions. This is actually a friend of mine from grade school. And I was like,
So you knew him.
I knew him. And it was also a surprise that I got invited because we lost touch a little bit. And then he attended a wedding that we DJ'd. I DJ'd. And it was the Panesi wedding. And he had literally asked me in front of his wife at the time, like he was like, ask him. So he turns to his wife during cocktail hour. He goes, ask him. And I'm like, ask me what? I was like, yes, I'm married. I was like, what are you asking? And he's like, and then Courtney Coco was like, would you and your wife make it to our wedding? I was like, that'd be awesome. I was like, but when is it? I need to know now. And he goes, August 17th. I go, ooh. I was like, okay. And then I saw that I had to work the night before, and I was like, all right, but I'm able to make it. I just got to work at the contracts. So long story short, I actually enjoyed that wedding. To answer your question, I really enjoyed it because I felt like I wanted to go, and we enjoyed ourselves thoroughly. I just ended up DJing because Kenny wanted me to do a set anyway, and again, it was a New York, like half New York, half Texas wedding.
So everybody flew down.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, I was supposed to just do a couple of minutes, and I ended up finishing the night. Shout out to Dom Nigella, Great DJ. Love you for that, Dom. You're the man. Sincerely.
We love you, Dom.
I don't know you, but I
that was
love you,
awesome.
Dom.
Me too.
So let's talk about your experience. You and Erin went to California.
See, Erin is my girlfriend. So, ladies, I'm taken. Okay, so we went to California for a wedding. LA County. It was beautiful. Erin's best friend got married. Her name was Kenzie, and guy's husband's name is Jacob. Awesome couple, great couple. They did an amazing reception. Beautiful, great flow of the wedding. I was entertained the whole time. Food was great.
Yeah.
Photo booth was great. Like they did a very good job. He's like an aspiring architect. She's an aspiring actress. Great, just a great party and great people. And the DJ was awesome, but the crowd was also awesome, which also made me think about like, oh wow, it's so interesting. When you just have a hot crowd, sometimes it doesn't matter what you're playing. If it's good, substantially good, they're still gonna go off and they're still gonna dance. But it made me think about another wedding I went to in California. I was another destination wedding, and I knew a couple of these people. And the MC and DJ, if I had to monetize and kind of like put a price on what they probably paid, probably like $700.
Ooh.
Ouch.
And I get it. People are on budgets, and I understand that not everyone can afford obviously certain prices, but I feel that he represented that rate or cheaper. It seemed like it was his second event he's ever done. It definitely seemed like he was doing more of a favor for this couple. And he had no idea of what a punchline is or how to formally introduce a couple or formally introduce someone who speaks. And that's something I learned in my elementary, mentorship classes,
right.
training classes. There we go. In emceeing. And I just caught it all. And I said, wow, this really makes it awkward. And my girlfriend was kind of asking me, she's like, why do you have to nitpick? Or why are you not nitpicking? Sorry. And yes, I can be nitpicky because it's like, a doctor showing up to another doctor's office and be like, well, I would do this differently and that differently. You're kind of, microscopically looking at things. My profession, I care about it. I'm watching at a granular level. And I said, because if he just said this, it would have been a better moment. Like it could have been better. It was great. People had fun. People will go home and they'll drive home like, oh, that was fun. But they don't know what could have been. And I think that's what people miss out on when there's a good DJ or a good entertainer. You miss out of what could be more. Your wedding could be more if you, again, do your homework and look for a professional entertainer. And yeah, so that was my experience with that. I have a laundry list of examples that I already alluded to, which is why it was just like, oh, cringy. And I don't know if people noticed. And maybe they did, subtly. They probably did. But it's like, then there's someone like me when I say, hey, I do this too. And people are like, oh, okay. Like you just do this?
That's not the time. Can I just give you?
Yeah.
That's not the time to tell them you do this too.
That's not the time to tell them.
Not the time.
I do this too.
I didn't want to say it.
They go, this? You do this too?
Right.
No.
But now their immediate thought is like, oh, so you're like him.
Okay. Yep.
And we're like, no.
Oh, nothing like him at all.
Yeah,
So that was my experience. It was rough. And my girlfriend came to that one with me too. And it was like, holy moly. But this past one, Kenzie and Jacob, shout out to you guys. Awesome wedding.
We love you, Mackenzie and Jacob.
And Jacob. They're in Costa Rica right now on their
Good for them. I wish I was in Costa Rica.
Oh, pura vida.
With the plant behind you, I feel like I'm in Costa Rica.
Yeah, that's true. Plantains. But yeah, so that was the wedding. It was cool. I had a great time. And yeah, that was it. How was your wedding? You two. When you did.
Why don't you start? Because there's a lot to unpack on this one. So why don't you give
Should I
the people
dive right into it, or should I give it a little bit of a pre? Well, here's the deal. Let's just make it simple, okay? The most important thing is that a wedding is supposed to be beautiful. It's supposed to be elegant. It's supposed to be exciting, fun. It's supposed to be homely. It's supposed to be comfortable, all right? And sometimes the sights and the vision and everything like that can be there, but then comes the energy, the sound, the quality of the sound. And that's something that we were lacking on this particular wedding. I felt that everything else came together. It felt beautiful. It looked beautiful. But then we were pigeonholed and we were confined to using the venue's sound system. And
Okay.
if you know a live events, for instance, you know Patrick, you know John, you know myself, or any of our people, it's like we want to exude this level of confidence, of energy, of excellence.
That was it right behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the speakers.
And we were limited to what you see there. These little cute Bose speakers that were set up all over the venue on 4 different corners. And I said, maybe they're powerful. Let's not judge it based on the look.
Yeah.
Maybe it's powerful. Like Bose is known to produce these crazy speakers and whatever the case is, and these off brands. But maybe no. It was no bass at all. You were basically forcing whatever talent was coming out of this guy's fingers from the turntables, and you were pushing it through these little tweeter type things.
But the only thing is that we knew this going into the wedding. So let's preface this by saying we knew going into the party that we were going to have to use their in-house sound.
There's no way around it.
No,
okay,
there was no way to negotiate it. So basically, the venue that we were in, the room that we were in, was a glass contained room. So think of a green room, right? Think of like a greenery house.
Yep.
That's essentially what it was.
Yep.
Now, obviously, due to the aesthetics of the room, it's really, really nice. It's very appetizing for a bride and groom to say, no, we want to have our party here. We want to get married here because
beautiful.
It's aesthetically beautiful, and rightfully so.
And the speakers blend right in.
Yeah. So it was like
God.
they did a very good job. I will say this, look, with the hand that they were dealt, they've done a very good job with what they have.
Right.
Because the issue that they have was there are residents around the area that has repeatedly complained with noise and noise ordinances. So the problem that we faced at that night was we could not produce any bass. Otherwise, they were going to get complaints from the neighbors.
Okay.
And I want to make this a tip for everybody who is looking for a venue or in the middle of finding a venue. If they are requiring you to use an in-house sound system, you must make a negotiation that you must attend a wedding where you could peek in for 5 minutes or 10 minutes to hear the sound system.
Hear it yourself.
You are not to, at any circumstance, book that venue if you do not know what you're walking into. Because the expectations you have are going to be completely different from what you're going to get. I cannot stress that enough. And again, this isn't always the venue's fault. It's not always the venue's fault. The venue does have to deal with the county that they're in, possibly law enforcement. They have to deal with neighbors. They have to deal with all these other things. But as an entertainer, we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that you're getting what you paid for. And it always starts with the elements that we need to perform.
The core elements.
Correct. And sound in entertainment is the number one thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like what you said just now. You have to test drive a car if you're going to go and buy that car. You have to understand that all 5 senses need to be satisfied. And especially when it comes to entertainment, your speakers are the number one thing. Why else are you you're spending as much on an event, especially today's weddings, as a luxury car. Test drive the car. Test drive.
Well, think of it this way. You're
venue.
test driving the food, right? Don't you get
A tasting. Yeah. Good
So
point.
if I would like to argue that's a great point, considering if you're offering a service at that venue, that service must be at some capacity tested. And if they don't test it, I'm willing to bet that venue will start declining in regards to sales and their overhead. And if you're a venue, here's my advice. If you're a venue and you're upset by this, I get it. I'd hate me too. I get it. It's just I'd hate me too.
Real moment.
With that said, don't just trust anybody to install a sound system for you, or don't just install a sound system based on an audio engineer who's selling you that product. Why? Just like when we sell to our clients, we sell the best proportions of that said service or product, right? We're not there to say, oh, but, or if, or you're not going to get, like you're not trying to do that as a sale, right? So if somebody's selling you an in-house system because you want to include an in-house system for whatever reason you want to do, don't just trust the word of the person selling you that product. You should be bringing in, especially if you have in-house DJs that you cater to, they should be part of that decision making. They should be able to tell you, like, listen, this is a trustworthy system. We're able to do this. We won't blow your sound system repeatedly if we're here. We know the limitations. If we're professionals or you deem us professionals, use our professional advice. Yeah. Don't just do it. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that was not, we were very frustrated on Saturday. We were, specifically me, because the playlist for that couple was outrageous. Outrageous.
It looked like an amazing crowd. That dance floor was never empty.
It was.
That's the biggest problem. This is the biggest problem. John knew that the crowd was worth what he was brought to bring to them.
Right.
And because of that, it's like he was delivering as much as he could, but the sound system was what it really just limited us completely.
What do you recommend to couples when they're, venue shopping and the idea of you can only use our in-house sound system, or hey, you can use our in-house sound system, but DJs also can bring their own as well, because there are some venues that allow that. What do you recommend to couples navigating that? Because I've gotten couples coming to me and saying, hey, we have the option to use their in-house sound. And I go, test it. Or ask why can we only use their in-house sound system? I think that's a worthy question to ask, because I'm sure if they inquired, I don't know if they did, like, why can we only use your in-house sound system? I'm sure the venue has to provide some information, some honest information saying, well, we have noise ordinances past a certain time, so we can only play it at a certain level. And I think that should be an alarming to a bride and a groom when you hear play only at a certain level. That typically means you can't push it. You can't hear that vibration, that bass. And that's always a concerning thing for me as an entertainer, as a DJ. I too also do understand that, venues have that issue. But is there anything else that I'm missing?
Well, if you're asking me directly, my first question is, if they're telling you have to use your in-house sound system, they're not going to do it as a
favor.
Well, no. What I mean by that, like, okay, they're not going to bring it up to you for you to question it.
Right. I had a feeling you were going to say
that.
Okay.
So
they're not going to be...
Oh, this is how they would sell it. Because I literally watched them do this. And not just where we were on Saturday, but it's also every other place that does in-house sound.
Got it.
Oh, yeah. So this is the room. We can fit up to about 180 people in here comfortably. We usually do tables here. We do this. The sweetheart table goes over there. The DJ comes in. They plug into our house system, and everything's hunky dory. Like they just almost like skip over it, where they don't put it into question for the bride and groom.
Got it.
Because the bride and groom don't know.
Correct.
How would they know?
Correct. Right. No, that's
right.
Makes sense.
Like so if. Okay, that's almost like if you're redoing your kitchen and you want to, let's say, put a microwave over your stove, right? You're under the impression, this is the end result, this is what I'm going to get. And then all of a sudden they sell you that, or they sell you the microwave. And then when the contractors get to your house, they're like, we can't do this. This microwave doesn't have the filter, or you don't have a bracket or an area for us to actually hang this properly. Then you have to go back and return that, and I promise you, they're going to fight you on it because no, we have a contract. You agreed to this. We informed you of this.
Yep,
that's a problem, and unfortunately, I don't like that. I feel like it's a dishonest service on the venue's behalf because they're not thinking of the bride and groom at that time. They're thinking of bottom dollar. And again, we get it. It's
a business.
It's a business. Your sales representatives are not there to give any reason for that couple to not book, but you also have to ask yourself this question. Is this eventually going to bite you in the ass?
Correct.
Like, how long can you pull this before this now becomes a problem? Because if you have cops show up, and let's just say hypothetically, the cops shut down everything, right? You think a bride's not going to be pissed? You think a couple's not going to be pissed? And then you're going to go ahead and say, oh, no, we warned you, whatever, it's in our contract. You think that's going to suffice long enough for your reputation not to be slandered?
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem.
We had this similar situation, and I'm going to answer that question as well in the sense that if you remember, there was a venue, a White House loft
Yes.
I said that in a way so that we can cut it just in case you don't want to add it.
Well, it's no longer okay. No.
Yeah, White House Loft, and they told us that we can only use their sound system. And I asked why. In other words, I wanted to be able to offer the client the opportunity to have one of our powerful sound systems by Evie, by the way, Electro Voice. Shout out to Evie and Electro Voice. Look at these microphones by Evie, by the way. Oh, not for nothing. These are the best.
This show is sponsored by
Evie. So, just getting back to it, I questioned when my client came back to me and said, or our client came back and said, yeah, no, we don't need the sound system because they have their own. I'm like, why are we using their sound system?
Great. Mm-hmm.
What are they doing as a favor? No, there's got to be a reason why they're offering their sound system. And I can tell you really quickly, chances are it's because they want to have control or autonomy over the microphone, over the volume. Mm-hmm. And that means that you're probably in a residential area or there's connecting offices or tenants in the area. And can I tell you something? That's a red flag.
That is.
Because you mentioned before about hearing and feeling. And the truth is, there's a difference between hearing music or experiencing the entertainment. Mm-hmm. And if you're not experiencing it, I think it really takes away a large part of what we come to bring our clients. I think we're doing them a disservice because no one wants to hear music. You could do that with your AirPods. You want to feel it. You want to experience it. You want to just be able to touch, feel, taste, sound. Well, the sound system is extremely important. And I found out that it was because they wanted to be in control of the levels. And what did I do? I brought in.
We had our own sound system.
I said, listen, would you mind doing us a favor? We're going to bring in just a couple more speakers, just one as a monitor. And and we took that monitor and we turned that right to the dance floor.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we gave this family the party that they deserved.
Yeah.
And we didn't get any complaints. We still were able to monitor the levels appropriately.
Well, we had the cops show up. We had the cops show up. Yeah, they came to the party, and it's funny enough because I'll be honest. I called the bluff. I did. I actually thought that the venue was at some capacity kind of bluffing. I thought that they were just like, for whatever reason.
Of course, fear-mongering. Right.
Exactly, fear-mongering. And I was like, okay, look, I'm going to push this towards the back end of the night. And we actually have a video of, I actually have the video when Aldo ran up to me and he's like, it's like, cops. He's like, and I'm just like, shit. Now, I also knew this, right? If a cop shows up to a venue because of a noise complaint, they're not there to shut it down. They're not there to shut it down. Okay. Primarily because they want to give you a warning. I've never met a police officer that showed up to a noise complaint and says, unplug.
Shutting down a wedding?
I've never, dude. Nobody
Dick of the
wants
year.
to do that.
Sorry, bad word, but
nobody wants. Like, okay, what kind of a-hole do you want to be to shut down a wedding?
Right, shit on somebody's dreams. You can't do that.
Right, and unless they're absolutely forced to do so, they're not going to do that. Right. The officers showed up. The party ended at midnight. The officers showed up. I think it was around 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
No, it was
11:30.
No, correction. He showed up at 11. They said he wanted to come talk to me. And I told you we have to pivot because I can't just walk away right now.
Right.
So let's do slow dances lined up. Wow. And also transition because they were serving dessert. So in a way, it kind of worked out in our favor where dessert was starting to get served anyway. So we had to pivot. We played some slow dances. I walked outside. The officer had an awesome mustache. Just saying.
Shout out to the mustache.
Shout out to the guy with the mustache.
Shout out to the mustache. That's in now.
The porn stash come back.
I can't do it.
But he basically, he told me,
70s porn
look,
stash.
I walked outside. It's a little noisy. We got a complaint. We're not telling you to not do your job. We don't want to do that. Just make it what you believe is a reasonable level. That's exactly the words he said to us. And he goes, I don't want to have to come back here, have at it. He left 11:30, and then what did we do? 10 minutes. Look, here was the attitude. We made sure
light speed.
Dude, we made sure he left. Aldo and the maitre d' walked outside to kind of do a sweep.
Okay.
To make sure like what level we were good at.
Okay, that's
And by 11:45, I said, fuck it, we ball. I literally was like, all right, we're going. And I did that because at that rate, the party was going to end in 15 minutes. So the threat of him coming back was going to be irrelevant.
Yeah, good.
And
It was a good call.
and
So
we-
you
and
hired
we
Jon
finished it.
Divine and Aldo Ryan for your wedding, and Patrick Soldi.
But it was good. But going back to the tip, if you have to use in-house sound systems,
Yeah.
please be wary that you're going to end up more with a dinner party than you are a party because it's going to be very, very difficult to get people engaged because bass is the ultimate driver
Yep.
for dancing. And I don't think people really understand that enough. Bass, which is that vibrational feeling, like exactly, it's the low end of the music, is actually chemically what causes us to move. That's why drums. So here's a little nerd moment for audiologists. Drums is actually not only rhythmic, it's also what causes the body to move. So that's why in most cultures, from dating back to as long as humans have been alive, banging on something has always been the first form of expression of music. I know. Shut up. Shut up. This is horrible. This was a horrible idea.
this episode.
Yeah, no, this episode's going to get us in so much trouble.
We'll cut that part out.
Maybe not.
No, we're not. I'm not cutting that out. This is all
This part of the conversation is called Just the Tip.
What do we know? We're just DJs. Let's talk about
Well, I like. Wait, you know what? Think about the this at a molecular level, right? What makes people move? Again, you're right.
bass.
It's
It is
bass.
bass.
It's
Yeah.
beats. Why? Because people have enough time to move rhythmically into the next pose as you're dancing. You know what I mean? And so the bass is so important. If you don't have that bass, you're missing the heartbeat
You're
of your music.
behind. That's so true. Every time there's no bass, I'm dancing. I'm like, I feel like I'm off right now, and it's like hard to keep up unless you really know the song.
Right.
There's something missing, and we all know it. We just, especially us, because we know what works.
Yeah.
But it's in us. We're just like, there's only so much we could do.
Yeah.
So true.
It's also uncomfortable.
It is.
It's uncomfortable for people, and I think that when one of the harshest parts about hearing are higher frequencies. So believe it or not, like vocals or like hi-hats or like things that produce really, really high frequencies are harmful to the ear. So the bass actually helps the body regulate it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's also another thing I learned. But I want to go into the next topic, which actually Aldo brought up to me. It's actually, we're sitting in a beautiful studio right now. And if you notice, we have beautiful lighting on us. They're known as floodlights.
Okay.
And floodlights are used by photographers and videographers at weddings. And unfortunately, they also keep them on during dancing.
Not nice. Not nice.
Okay. I will say,
I
With a preface.
understand.
with a preface, we started working with videographers very closely. And obviously, doing what we're doing with the podcast, with the multiple cameras, and understanding how video works, for the best footage possible, light is a major, major, major role in how the video is portrayed.
Right.
And our lighting, which is the nightclub multicolored and LED intelligent lighting, that stuff can actually mess with the camera because the changing of color causes the internal portions of the camera to go wacky, and then you get something called noise. So if you guys ever look at a video, right, and it looks like grainy or it kind of looks like it's cartoonish, that's called noise. Noise is when the camera tries to make up for lack of light. So what these guys do is they put the floodlights on so that way they get the best footage of what's happening
By washing the room.
Yeah. But the downside of that is people feel spotlit.
That's right.
And it's also like, the sinful nature of dancing to your favorite Gasolina song. Like, you just like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, crap, grandma's looking.
My hips don't work as well as they did earlier. Yeah, exactly.
Like it's true.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, it's like when the bar closes and at 4 a.m. they turn the lights on and it's like, oh, okay, we're out of here.
Yeah.
That's what I do. That's what I tell my families, my couples I work with. I go, okay, like they're like, oh, lighting, do we do that? I'm like, do you dance in the pitch black? No. Why? I don't want to hurt myself. Okay. Do you dance when the light's on? No. I leave when the lights are on. Exactly.
Yeah.
Get some dance floor lighting. But in this case, yes, the floodlights do make that a bit more...
Challenging.
Yeah, a bit more, thank you. More challenging.
there are ways around it, though. There are ways around it.
Do say.
Well, number one, you could put a floodlight on your camera.
which is, that's a
that.
given.
Yeah.
Okay, I
I
didn't even
mean,
know
Just to be focused in one particular area as opposed to having everybody suffer with that spotlight. It's of course, go ahead.
well, I agree with the floodlights for speeches. I even, believe it or not, I even like them for first dance. I think
agree.
I do because another thing that I think is coming out of style is the spotlight dance provided by Our Lights. And I think it's primarily because videographers need their lighting to match how they put their camera on.
Sure.
And quite frankly, that's what the spotlight dance is for. It's really for your media more than anything else. It's for your photos. It's for your video. So I can understand putting a spotlight for when toasts are being given, when the first dance is happening. Or if you're highlighting specific moments on a dance floor, maybe a bouquet toss if you still do that. But, you know, those things I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan of the spotlights being on during a dance set.
I agree.
Because I feel like it really takes away from the natural energy of when people like the lights go down, let's get a little freaky.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like
I agree.
So for videographers out there, only because we respect what you do, we appreciate what you do, you're capturing these moments that we've created. We've taken so much time to create. But think about it for a second. People do not like to dance in the full light. It's a fact. It's a known thing. No matter where, bar, club, lounge, party, it doesn't matter. So take into consideration that there are different ways that you can still capture what you need to do in a specific area as opposed to shining light on everyone, because it came to the point where people were asking me on the dance floor, can you turn that light off?
They think it's us.
that's happening.
They think it's us.
Yeah.
We look bad. Let's find some creative ways together, and let's go ahead and get you your shots without having everybody suffer. Or what does lights do is also impedes. It doesn't allow people to be free. Nobody wants to be free.
Yep.
You know, you can't move the hips.
You can't move the hips.
Your hips are lying.
So I was going to say too, you're actually. I'll never move my hips again like that.
Who said you could move your hips to begin
I
with?
could never move my hips. I'm Irish. So a little spicy white. I'm Italian. Right? Anyway, so also, yes, exactly. To piggyback on that, to capture the best if you want to capture the best footage, right? Footage that you can used to market yourself with, you're going to want to capture dancing moments where people are free. And when you have that light impeding them from being free, you're going to get good footage of people dancing, but not great footage of people dancing.
Right.
So I think it's even going to help you in the end when you take that into consideration. You execute that. So
I also think there's one other thing too, is that videographers, a lot of videographers are taught to be flies on the wall. When you're in a reception and dancing, you're not supposed to be. And let me explain why. If you have a good personality and you have a floodlight and you can get people to dance on camera, trust me, it's some of the best footage you'll ever get. I'm not joking. Especially in social media now, people want to be in front of a camera.
Yep.
They really do. And the ones who don't want to be part of the camera, we'll just say, no, thanks. It's okay. Just keep moving. Keep it moving. It's like if you're trying to be a fly on the wall, there are moments to do that, but the floodlight is really going to be needed unless you have a very, very, very expensive lens with a low aperture, like 1.4. And I mean, just so you guys are aware, 1.4 camera at, let's say, 70 millimeters on average is about $3,000. So it's not a cheap lens, and it's not something that most videographers are going to go out of their way to have specifically for low light receptions. They're not going to do that. It doesn't make sense for them. Not financially, at least.
Right.
But if you have a floodlight and you attach it to your foot, which is the top of the camera, your shoe, not your foot.
I was going to say,
It's the shoe.
That's a term. I'm learning something.
Yeah, it's the shoe that's on the top of the camera. You attach it there. And if you're engaged with them and you say, hey guys, look here, smile, whatever, people love that. I tell it all the time. When we take our own videographers and they go out to capture footage of us, I have people just hamming it up on the camera. Even the bride and the groom.
Love it.
Especially if the bride has been drinking a little bit. So I actually want to show you guys. This is what I mean by being on camera and not caring. And also, folks, ladies, if you're looking to get married and you need entertainment, just know this is what I want for you for your wedding day. I'm going to just share my screen. I want you to have this mentality. Ready? Hold on. Where? Not here. Hold on. Just give me.
While he looks that up, I have
Here
an
it is.
idea. Don't shine that spotlight. If you have to bring it, don't just leave it off for the first 5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Just let this dance floor pack organically, please, por favor.
Especially because now most of them are also app controlled. They're Bluetooth app controlled.
Yeah, where they can lower.
So they have either a remote with them, or they could do it from their phone or their tablet or whatever they're bringing. So trust me, there are ways to get around it. But like I said, brides, this is the attitude I want you to have for your wedding day. Just like this. Look at this. Look at this chick. Yeah, baby.
Yep.
Drink in one hand, hot dog in the other, surrounded by her friends, just going bananas.
Not a care in the world. But
this is like
what she needs.
This is exactly the type of attitude you got to have on your wedding day. Why would you want anything less?
That's it.
For real.
I love brides like that.
Yeah. Now, if you notice, look, there are people videoing. Look, this chick is videoing the moment. You got other people on their phones watching this. Clearly, somebody's videoing her now. Does she look like she's shy for the camera? No.
Nope.
No. Come on.
Unbothered. I love it.
For real. It's literally one of the greatest parts of what we do is capturing those moments. Those are the ones that you're going to laugh your ass off when you recap your video.
Yeah.
So, guys, we're just looking out for you.
Shooting it.
Just saying. Okay. Since we're being on topics with vendors and stuff like that, we might get canceled. How do venues treat us?
Oh shit, we're doing this now?
Yeah, we're going to do it now. There's 3 of us. Do we have time?
Would you look at the time? I have a doctor's appointment.
Wow.
No,
Somebody turn the lights on.
Let's talk about venues and the unfortunate circumstances at a lot of venues and how they treat vendors.
Okay.
There's a really big stereotype, and sadly it is kind of true, that venues typically do not treat specifically entertainers nicely. They don't. I'm not saying all of them. So before you jump down my throat, especially those who work at venues, there is a very big disconnect with venue management, people who work at the venue, and I can only really speak for entertainers, but I want to open it up to you guys, like your experiences. What do you guys think? You think that's true? Do you think that's a little, overplayed?
Being in this business now for 25 years, right? We talk about the law of probability. I've been at every single venue in the Northeast for the most part. Every now and then you'll have this one-off that just comes in and whatnot. But realistically, especially when you're dealing with a professional company with professional guys, girls, ladies, gentlemen that care about their clients and the expectation and the results, we really need to work together. It's so important. And we are blessed to have a series of venues that actually recommend us, work with us. They love working with us because they know that we're going to do right by them. We're going to give the client the type or the party of their dreams, the couple, the family. And it's so important to just treat each other with the level of respect and understand our needs and accommodate us. And we are going to do the same for you. We, meaning especially live events, but also the other entertainment companies that have put their foot in the ground. They're pioneers in the industry. They know what they're doing. They take care. They bring in the right things. They don't destroy equipment. They don't bang up walls and whatnot. Here's the deal. I think what happens is that venues mistreat vendors because they also have to deal with the antithesis of professional entertainers. And we get it. We understand that there are guys that coming in, guys, when I say guys, I mean everybody, okay? So let's just get over that. When people come in and they're just setting up this BS equipment and they're just not taking care of the walls and the doors and the passageways that they're walking through, and they're just carefree, they're careless, you know what? Those are the ones who give people like us a bad name. Those who go out of our way.
It's true. We have bad seats.
So first things first, check. Just like the clients research us vendors and venues, we should also research each other to see who we are. And
Yeah, but they're not going to. Here's why they're not going to, because, we look at, even if we do multiple events in a day, each team has one event to focus on, right? So you could have one person focusing on that one venue for that one day. These venues, especially if they're factories and they have to do multiple, they're not going to do the research. They have way too many hats to wear, and they're juggling, and they're just doing a lot of handling of different elements, and they're just not going to take the time to research the one guy that's going to be there for typically 6 to 8 hours. And sadly, that also goes back to when I think a lot of venues are now trying to do that. You guys have heard of this? The extra like tax on.
I know,
if
an
you don't
additional
use,
vendor. Yes,
if
I
you-
know,
if
I
you
know,
don't use their vendors.
because they don't trust outside vendors, and that makes me frustrated because I come in here saying, "Hey, happy to work with each other. I have some recommendations on how we can best, formulate this timeline to just enhance the client's experience, and for all guests involved, I want to work with you guys. I don't want to disrupt your kitchen and your flow, but if I can make these recommendations, that'd be awesome." And I've had in some instances pure whole receptiveness. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, let's work together. And some who are a bit jaded, I suppose. From
F you. How dare you tell me how to run my kitchen?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've gotten attitude sometimes, and I've never raised my voice. I've never. I've never come saying, "Hey, this is what we're doing," because that's not my way of doing things typically, and I get so much attitude sometimes from some venue coordinators.
Yeah.
And I go, listen, I'm not here to mess with you or just have it done my way because I want it done my way. I just feel in my experience, when we do it this way, I've seen it go wrong. And you may have a system, or you may have had bad experiences with DJs not following or not enhancing or not being able to sustain energy throughout a party where you feel the need to step in. But I'm not going to do that, guys. I won't do that.
I had a guy threaten me.
Wow.
I had a guy threaten me.
Wait, at the venue? Mm-hmm. Wow.
The maitre d' threatened me. Yeah.
Oh.
You know
I know
exactly
you're
where it
talking
was.
about.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not.
He's not there anymore.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
No, he. Okay,
Go.
I'll walk through what usually happens behind the scenes for most couples because you don't see this, right? So usually during cocktail hour, the maitre d' walks up to primarily the entertainer, because the entertainer coordinates with the rest of the vendors.
Correct.
That's what people have to understand. The second the reception starts, we become in charge of handling that timeline. The maitre d' has to worry about everything else behind the scenes, right?
Yep.
So they look at us like, you must inform the photographer, the videographer, the bride and groom. It's your job now, right? That's how they approach it. So during cocktail hour, what they usually do is what? They approach us, say, "Hey, you got a minute? Let's go over timeline."
Yep.
Cool. Let's go over the timeline. And I remember this. The guy was kind of like stumbling, like he was like trying to like find his paperwork. I kid you not, I waited like 30 seconds before, I'm like, okay, let's, hey, and I literally just said this, ready? I was like, here, let me help you out. I have this, and he goes, whoa, excuse you. That's literally what he did. I was like, hey man, let me just help you out. I pulled out the time. I literally pulled out our timeline.
Hey man, listen.
I pulled out our timeline that we coordinated with the bride and groom, and our timeline is, generally speaking, a timeline that we know is never going to impede with a kitchen.
Right.
Like that's the biggest thing. The maitre d's biggest issue is making sure the food comes out on time.
Don't mess with my food.
Hot, and that everybody's able to be serviced.
And we agree.
We understand that.
Yep.
So he thought that I was coming at him with like, "Oh, I know more than you," and I had to back up. And before I could quote unquote apologize, because you know me.
Yeah, you're so sweet.
Well, here's the thing: I'll die on the sword if I offend you, because that's never my intention. But I actually snap back at this dude because he comes at me and he goes, "Let's just get this straight. You're in my house." Yeah. And I go, I said, "You're 100% right. And I'd love to hear what you have going on." And he goes, "We're going to do bang, 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 bang." And I said, because we had personalization that day. So we had the love story, we had the first dance, we had all that. And I go to him and I said, "I have no problem working with your timeline. Just understand that we do something a little different with our introductions that may delay the introductions a little bit because this is what the couple wanted. And just so you understand, like, you're banking on us doing the parent. Like, this is what typically most East Coast, like New York, New Jersey venues believe. They believe in introductions, followed by the grand entrance, followed by the first dance, and then they want to knock out the parent dances immediately after. Yeah. We typically don't do that because what it actually does, it causes everybody in attendance, meaning your guest, to remain seated and or in a stationary position for over the first hour of your reception. And I want you to think about that for a second. If you have people sitting down or not doing anything actively other than occasionally going to a bar for an hour, how difficult you think it's going to be for them to get up?
Nap time.
Exactly. They get kind of rooted to their seats.
Yep.
Or they get they get distracted. They might go outside. Again, we talked about this all the time.
Yeah.
They'll find a way to entertain themselves.
Yeah.
Not what we do. So when we do our introductions, we typically do our, we get them engaged.
Yep.
So I had to explain to him this process, and of which he was not happy. He was not happy. And I told him, I was like, I understand. Just know that the way we do things, we're not going to do the parent dances because the time that we would normally do the parent dances is going to be replaced with this introduction stuff, right? Cool. This is what drove me nuts. Wow. This is what drove me nuts. We did all of it. And I looked at the first dance. First dance is done. I look at the maitre d' and he's doing this. So let me put this into perspective for people who don't understand what he's saying. He goes, keep going. I'm not ready yet. So you mean to tell me you got in my face about how you wanted things done and you didn't perform the one job you said you needed to do at this said time?
You had one job.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You know what I'm about to say to you? Because I promise you it's not going to be good. Then at dinner, he proceeded to tell me, he did it in a sarcastic voice. He goes, any other surprises I should know about? I go, dude.
You're so happy.
I'm like, dude.
So happy
I'm
I
like,
was
dude.
not there.
I told him.
Hey,
and
you've been locked up.
Well, here's guys.
in jail.
So the difference between Aldo and I, which is also, here's the thing. I could fight, and I'm like, how do I put this? I'm like
That's the difference between him and I.
No.
I grew up in Coney Island. Yeah.
He can fight. No, I could fight. I'm like a honey badger. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll go after a lion, even though I'm smaller. I don't care. The issue that I have is that I don't want to be the reason that if I ever have to come back to this area, I don't want that reputation because I don't want to deal with this again. Because in our industry, that will happen. Yeah. It can't happen. Yeah. It's going to be known. And unfortunately, they hold the weight of the influence versus us.
They do.
So it's very difficult. But I will tell you this. I've also put really bad taste in other people's mouth. So far, in fact, how many times have we gotten managers or sales banquet managers tell us, oh, that person's not there anymore. We're like, oh, thank God. We're like, and we do that because we're like, dude, he was miserable. Or she was miserable. Yeah. And it happens all the time.
Yep. You're not working together. It's like we need a cohesive team of people to make the experience come alive. No pun intended.
And I don't want to I don't feel like I don't want to talk about this stuff all the time to just make couples nervous. I think it's important for couples to understand what happens behind the scenes because they can either interject if you have the time to do so and say, hey, this timeline we're creating, just to educate brides and grooms listening to this right now, this timeline we're creating, you and me, DJ, if you even create a timeline with your DJ, which I hope you do, is this being shared with the venue previously, beforehand, in advance? Do they know that you have this stuff planned and vice versa? I know before I work at a venue that I've never worked at before, I always send them my timeline a week beforehand, and I just coordinate. I always tell them, hey, whatever food you have lined up with, and you want to make a minor tweak. Is this possible to make a minor tweak? Most of the time, or often than not, if in advance, they say absolutely.
Yeah, they work with you.
So I think it's important if this is advice for DJs and venues, hey, reach out, be proactive, reach out to each other, especially if you take your job seriously. Reach out to each other and say, hey, we need to make sure we're on the same page before this event starts up. You're going to be with Eve on Saturday. She's great. She's going to be talking, but I want to make sure this timeline's created. Or if you're a bride and groom and your DJ or venue are not on this, have not discussed yet and spoken up, or feel free to speak up. And please ask your DJ, your entertainer, or your venue, hey, can you reach out to our vendors and send this over to them and make sure that they're on the same page?
Yeah.
And guys, DJs, get it in writing too. Correspond via email. Phone call is great, of course, just to make sure things are in writing because you can always show on the day of it there's some last minute changes. Hey, I have conversations with Aaron, your supervisor, your manager, that this was supposed to be laid out here. We have a problem because I had these expectations. And at the end of the day, it's for the bride and groom. That's it. Like people say, oh, it's not a pride thing. It's like, I just want to make their day amazing. I'm trying to do that. And if we can do that together, that'd be awesome.
You're trying to play the role of just helping them attain or the thing that they're looking for.
Yeah, that's it.
I think all of us, all vendors in totality, have a role.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If we can all understand that we all have a role and we stick to our job and we coordinate with one another, a lot of the times This goes smoothly.
Yeah.
And it's not like you don't need to make it more difficult for somebody.
No.
Don't do that. It's just stupid. There's no reason for you and I to pick, make a big deal over a small decision, which ultimately we have to do anyway. You know what I mean? Like a 5-minute difference is 9 times out of 10. A 5-minute difference is not going to make a huge problem.
Correct.
20 minutes is a different conversation, but 5 minutes, like, okay, you got to back speeches up 5 minutes. All right, we got you.
I think it's the human condition to always be, when it deviates just slightly from what I'm used to, we freak out.
Yeah.
And we need to be very flexible in this industry, in this live entertainment industry, because
100%.
it's live. Even me, I've had timelines where I'm like, this is perfect. And then something doesn't go as planned, or they say, we have to do ceremony earlier, or this or that. I go, okay, let's change this up a bit. And all right, let's make this work. And although I want to have it to, my template, I can't always do that.
No.
And we need to be flexible. DJs, entertainers included. I'm calling us out
Brides
at the same
too,
time.
though. Make this too.
That's a good
Brides,
point.
grooms,
I agree.
parents.
Yeah, I agree.
Be flexible.
Yeah.
Okay, don't be
Trust us.
don't be the type where you're going to fight your vendors because it's not that, I want to do this first. You got to trust us. Okay?
us.
If I tell you you need to do something now, there is a reason for it.
Yeah.
There is a reason for it.
I agree.
Should we
Yeah.
talk about Atlantic City?
Yeah. Yeah.
Patrick,
yeah.
tell me what happened when a bride kept saying, "Oh no, I want to do dances later." What happened?
So this was early in my career when I was first butting into the the wedding industry and the wedding entertainment industry, and she said, I want to do this later. I want to just chill for a sec. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
And Patrick, I just want to do okay. Okay, fine. John, we're gonna do it. All right, okay, sounds good. She ended up getting really drunk.
Oh, yeah.
Near the end of the night. And guys, get drunk. It's your wedding night. Get drunk. Get crunk. She got
Plastered.
zoided, zooted. Like she was plastered, walking side to side. And we still didn't do garter, bouquet. We still didn't do parent dances.
That
We
was
still
the big
doing
one.
a lot of things. It was a
That
big
was
one.
the
The
big
parent
one.
dance is a big one. Garter bouquet. I have my opinions on garter bouquet, but parent dance, guys, they didn't do their parent dance on their wedding because of that. For that reason.
Well, the bride didn't dance with her father.
Right. Yeah.
That's what
and
really happened.
and because it was hard to communicate with her, due to her, she was incoherent, to an extent, to a certain degree, we couldn't reach her and rationalize. Hey, just do it. I know it's late. Just do it. There was no working with her.
What really happened was, and to her defense, she felt like she was getting pulled away a lot, and she wanted a minute to kind of recuperate.
Yep.
And listen, your wedding day is going to be filled with a lot of people trying to pull you in different directions.
Yeah.
Vendors included. We're not innocent in that. We we are going to take you to say, let's do this, let's do that. It's time for this. It's time for that. We always say to do the parent dances either after toasts or at the end of dinner.
Yeah.
Okay. We like that because it gives enough time for you to enjoy the reception, but not push it where you can really let go. Because really the last 2 hours of your wedding
Should be just-
it should be
Balls to walls.
balls
as
to
you say.
wall. Because at that point all the formalities should be done.
Your last formality should be cake.
Right.
That's it.
Right. So what it came down to was she wanted to push it back. We originally had it for toasts. I remember it was after toast. Let's do the parent dances. We'll go and do a dance set. She did not want to do that. And I said, okay, let's do it for dinner.
Right.
The problem is she disappeared during dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And then that was the issue because
Yeah.
you actually instructed me from what I remember. You were like, we got to get these people up because they've been sitting down for 40 minutes.
I remember that.
Because she disappeared.
Yeah.
And I told you, I was like, well, we got parent dances. And you were like, we got to do it after. And I was
Yeah,
like,
I remember that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at that point, that's when the liquor had hit her.
Yep.
And then it became, we never did it. And then the liquor got her angry. And then it became
Yep.
a snowball effect of how things are. So again, to make my point across is you have to trust your vendors who do this for a living to give you the best fluid opportunity for you to enjoy your day. We're not saying you can't do things at a certain time. We're not saying that, but you have to understand that the rule of thumb is you will lose out on things if you don't prioritize them. specifically formalities.
And for tips for entertainers, if your couple, your bride, your groom, your guest of honor, anyone, the client gives you backlash, don't. I think I used to, especially in the beginning of my career, I used to go, no, this is how it's happening. They need to understand why it's happening. And you need to be able to paint a picture. Okay, fine. If you wait, then this happens. And when you kind of, I guess it's almost like when I like the analogy you bring, it's like checkmate. It's like chess. When you just strategize, you say, okay, fine. Well, if you make this move and you push your formalities a bit later because you want to relax, this is going to happen. People will leave if you do it after cake. And you won't, also people's attention spans won't be fresh. So if you delay your formalities until later in the night, people just want to dance. People are drunker. Issue. They're not going to listen to you. And you tell them that, explain what happens, and you paint the picture, or you roll the camera forward, roll the reel forward, they'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. And that's why I think even before, and you do this very well, I gained this from both of you guys, is you in the planning preparations meetings with your couples, tell them, guys, just trust me. We're going to be on the I want to lay the expectation now that when I say, guys, we have to do this, I mean we have to do this. And I'm not here to just command you and just say, because I just like it. It's for your own benefit. Trust us.
Trust the process.
And you guys, I really learned that from the both of you, that you planted the seed in your couple's brains, in their minds early on throughout the process. So when wedding time came, they're like, okay, what do we got to do? As opposed to, I didn't know. Like,
oh, Pat's got this.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
got this.
Oh, he's told us I'm flying this plane, and that just puts them at. People want to be led, and they want to feel at ease. And when they know, okay, this guy is going to be proactive and reach out, they'll respect that. They'll honor that. So don't bend to the will of your couples too much. At the end of the day, it's their day, so you need to be able to customize and bend a little bit. But couples. Trust your vendors, especially your entertainers when it comes to that.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, it's just, we're air traffic controllers. Think about this for a second. We understand, we know what it is for a plane to take off and how to get it up in the air and just keep it going up. Your wedding should just do this all the time. Not this, and definitely not this. Mm-hmm. But if you allow us to do what we do best, which is properly consult and educate and then entertain, we're going to do this to your party. It's just going to go up, up, and away.
Yeah. Well, guys, we're hitting into the point where we get to do some reviews of fun stuff.
Oh my God, I love this segment.
Yeah, this is our favorite segments lately. Is where we're doing like reviews of like fun stuff. I wanted to do.
Oh no.
Terrible speeches.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't wait.
Yeah, buddy.
So cringy.
So they're not all. So I scoured TikTok and all that fun stuff because I wanted to just see if there's like anything that were like, yeah. Let this be a lesson to you folks. What some of these videos are doing. Just leave it at that. The first one I'm going to play is actually more funnier because it's actually the stuff we read all the time. Like we try to say, like, don't use these like silly puns or like lines you get off the internet.
Oh God.
Right. You know what I mean?
Everybody's using them. So
I found this one guy who just gives like the 5 worst wedding like phrases.
Oh my God.
Right. So take a look at this.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Here are the top 5 most unoriginal wedding speech jokes.
Yeah, just before I finish, Amy, could you just put your hand on the table just like that?
Oh, God.
That's right. And Johnny, you just put yours on top of hers. Right, so that feeling you got right there, mate, better savor that because that's the last time in this marriage you'll have the upper hand.
Oh, yeah.
In marriage, there are only 3 sentences you need to know. Yes, dear, you were right, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
So, just a piece of wedding advice. In marriage, you have 3 rings. You've got the wedding ring, the engagement ring, and the suffer ring.
Yeah, I know that.
Jessica was always looking for someone smart, funny, good looking. Unfortunately, I was already taken, so Eric here was the next best thing.
So, as the best man, I've been told that my speech should be much like a women's miniskirt. Long enough to cover the essentials, but short enough to keep everyone's attention. Here are the top 5 most unoriginal.
Well done.
Yeah, don't do that. Wow. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Here's why, because it's like, okay, I think they do that to break ice. Like they try to like gauge like how hot the water is with jokes. And the only one that I've seen out of those 5 that still kind of makes people laugh is the hand over the other hand one. Like, oh, this is the last time you have the upper hand.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys have noticed. I've seen this a lot.
Too many times.
So I've seen it a lot. I've seen it a lot.
Yeah, but I can't help but think that everyone already knows. Sometimes I watch people go like this, and I just did it myself.
We're one of them.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
how many times do you see me turn around in the booth? I'm like, oh no.
It is so cringe. Stop. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You might as well start off your speech with, for those of you who don't know me.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
We talked about that in the last,
Yeah, no.
last episode.
Oh.
This one is actually more of a skit. I'm pretty sure it's a skit. Okay, if it's not a skit, it's even worse. But this one is hysterical. You ready?
Yep.
Just listen to this.
The best man speech, the better man. I must be good at this job because it's the second time Tom's chose me to do it.
Oh my God.
And hopefully this wedding goes better than the last. Emma seems absolutely lovely and hopefully won't sleep around. How they first met was like a Romeo and Juliet story. That's if Juliet got pumped behind a local nightclub fusion on the first date. Oi, oi! No, they did have a deep connection on that night before that happened. Like, they say if you're nervous for a speech, just imagine everybody naked. Again, I didn't realise there'd be so many children here. That's coming up. Jeez. I don't know Emma very well, so I asked some of her work colleagues what she's like at work.
Oh no!
And they said she's like God, right? Hardly seen, and if she does any work, it's a bloody miracle.
I kind of like that one.
Kind of like that one?
Yeah,
Again,
I like that one.
I didn't realise Emma's been off work sick for the last few months. And hopefully on the mend, Emma. I used all my good lines at the last wedding.
Here's all my good lines at the last
Look
wedding.
like in the future, look at the mother-in-law, and I tell you what, I think all the lads will agree. Tom's in for a treat because she'd get it.
Am I bad for like? No, I'm kidding. I hate it.
I did ask for a microphone, so if people in the back can't hear, the silence at the front should give you an indication of how the speech is gone.
You got the laugh track, yeah.
Bride and groom.
Yeah, it's so your family of pricks. That's what I do your wedding.
Leave it to the Irish.
Oh man.
Leave it to the Irish.
I looked at that one and I'm like, okay, well, let's see. If this is a second marriage, that's one I want to say. Okay, I think I know for a fact you've seen this happen.
Wow, people bring that up.
Yeah, don't bring up. Welcome back, everybody.
Oh my God.
That's so. Oh, it's so funny.
Imagine?
It's so bad. At a comedy club, yes. Not at a wedding reception.
Yeah,
No.
like
Not even at a comedy club.
No, at a comedy
Yeah.
club, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe
I
that
know, right?
someone
That you
would
do that at a wedding reception. I always say the line, "Grandma's there."
Yeah, that's right.
Grandma's
like
there.
I get pushing boundaries. We're all for pushing boundaries.
Of course.
But let's not bring up, oh, he's done this before, or she's been here
He's
before.
had practice.
Yeah, it's like stupid. That's
Yeah.
so dumb. It's actually like
agree.
that's the fastest way for everybody on that other side of the family to immediately think you're a prick.
Yeah.
I remember one person, one best man was saying, he says something to the effect of like, you're allowed one mistake. Even that, you can't say that.
I agree. I agree.
Even though you're kind of like shining, like you're trying to put shade on some on the first wedding and then shine light on the other one. You just can't do that. Don't bring up anyone from the past. Period.
Yep.
Please. Nobody wants to hear it, especially her or him.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear
your
it.
spouse, especially if you're just like a marriage, your spouse does not want to hear about the failure the first time. Which typically should tell them, warning, the vows might not really mean anything, But this one is actually funny because, again, I don't know if it's a script, but it's definitely like I've seen this pretty close happen once. This is what happens when you're not prepared with your speech.
And to give his remarks, everybody welcome Scott.
He doesn't look prepared.
Well, I'm Jason's brother. We're loud people here, so don't worry about that. Anyways, let's give you a quick story. My dad was just talking about how Jason and Whitney have always been there for him. Well, let's talk about the first time we went on vacation with him. he had a very bad back, and the guy couldn't do anything by himself. Like, what do we got? Bad story. Whatever. Anyways, I'm sucking already. Anyways, we had to carry him everywhere he wanted to go. Whatever. All right, switching scenes. Sorry.
Switching
Sorry.
scenes.
And to give his remarks.
Did I just
everybody-
watch an episode of Kill Tony? Like, what? This guy bombed.
That was bombing, yeah.
That was bad.
That was bad.
That's so uncomfortable. You know, there's 2 videos that I used to send to my couples to send to their maid of honor, best men, whoever's going to be doing speeches and stuff. I'd love to bring those up. As a matter of fact, they're so great. They're such great tools. They're succinct, and they basically teach you what not to do or what you can do to kind of give you a platform to lift off and get your speech off the ground. Keep it sweet. Keep it short. Keep it simple. Keep it interesting and share some love, man. You know what I mean? If you want to be funny, be funny. If you're funny. If you're not funny,
Well, if you're not funny, then we have
That's
to
the
teach you.
problem, though. People
Yeah.
think people that are not. There are some people that think they're funny and they're not funny. Oh man, that's it.
Well, you got to teach them to be funny.
can you teach someone to be funny?
To an extent. To an extent.
Well, you ask a comedian, there are ways
Yeah.
to set up.
Yeah.
Set up.
I believe
a punchline.
I don't think you can never have the it factor. So
Yeah.
I agree that you can
I
only
actually-
teach someone so far. But I think you can.
I have a video that will play at the back end of this because you know what? I'll just play. Let me see if I can find it now. The reason why I'll play it is because can you teach somebody to be funny? Yes, I think there is because if you structure the speech to give a punchline in an appropriate time,
Right.
you could do that. It's like here we go. Like this is it right here. So this is exactly what I mean by being funny. This is more not so much that they're making jokes, but it's the pace of which she's giving the speech. Watch this.
I am so grateful to get to say that I am Kathleen's maid of honor. More importantly, I am her best friend. I know that is going to be really hard for a lot of you girls to hear.
Well done. Timing and delivery.
Mostly because every girl in this room was just thinking to herself, wait, I thought I was Kathleen's best friend.
You can't teach that though.
Like, some of you took airplanes here thinking that you were Kathleen's best friend. That has got to be so hard.
Okay.
See, but that's what I'm talking about.
You can't teach that though.
Is she single?
I think like I don't. Who knows? But I will. But I do. I will say though, that is a perfect delivery. That's funny. That's the delivery is what makes it funny. It's like really. Did you really say anything funny? No. Think about it. Like the topic was not funny.
Right.
It's like, oh, you thought that you were the best friend.
It's her. It's her
You know what I'm saying?
convictions, her point of view, her
Right.
her tempo. You can't. I
Right.
don't think you should try to teach that. If you have to
Right.
try to learn to be funny for a speech, don't do it.
Right.
Don't try to be funny.
Right.
I'm telling you right
Correct.
now, like I could be funny. Like I don't know if I have that it factor to go in front of a crowd and start making people laugh. I've tried stand up before. I bombed every single time.
Yeah.
And I've usually had the idea of like, okay, yeah, I'll bomb. Like Bill Burr has bombed in his life. Dave Chappelle has bombed in their lives, but they had the it to be like, this guy's funny. I don't know if I necessarily have that when I'm saying a speech, for instance. And I know my best man speech, I'm going to play it safe, is going to be meaningful because I want it to be authentic. And if
Yeah.
me not showing humor, me showing humor, for my opinion, is not authentic. It's something I'm going to strive for. And if you have to strive to be funny, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
I think that you have to really be able to reflect. And I don't know what you guys think about grooms or even brides having to like filter and check the speeches. I know that's sometimes maybe a thing you want to be to have it like a surprise.
Yeah.
I understand.
That's a good topic.
But it's like
That's a really let's can we quickly dive into that because I like that topic. Should you filter or have to filter your best man or maid of or matron of honor speech?
and it has to be either everyone has to be filtered or you don't filter at all because then
Well, define filtering because my question
let me
is
see the
like,
speech and if I'm comfortable with this or not. The content is important.
I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that because if you're gonna make like, for example, one of my best friends made me do that. I'm like, yo, dude, you not trust me to like give a good speech. You know what I mean? Like that could be. You know where I'm coming from?
I agree with you. I personally would not want to be filtered. I would not want someone to be able to look over my heartfelt speech or whatever it is that I wrote, because then I'm not being me. And I'm not really exemplifying.
What's the whole point of me giving the speech to begin
Correct.
with?
But how do you avoid stuff like this from happening? Is it a poor judge of character? It's clearly a poor judge of character.
Well, if you truly know, okay. Let me start with this, right? Assuming that your best man or maid of honor is either a sibling or a best friend, you're talking about literally your right hand person outside of your spouse. Would we agree with that at least, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So is it so out of question to assume you know that person better than anybody else? So if you know that person has flaws with public speaking, then maybe you help them, but don't fully control what they're going to say. Like that to me is not filtering. That's mandating, like,
yeah, it's dictatorship.
it's in a way,
whatever.
like you talk about Bridezilla, that's worse. Like that's
I agree.
really.
I was going to take those two things and correlate them. Those are bridezillas, you know, like, or groomzillas,
or at least, hey, like Chris is going to be my best man, my brother,
Right.
of course. I don't feel I have to at all monitor Chris. I know he's going to say I have a good speech. Same thing with me, although Chris may want to monitor me. But like, I'm going to say, Chris, just if you're going to say speech, just I assume you're not going to say this. I assume you're not going to talk about this. But just to be
All right, yeah.
Don't talk about these things. That would be awesome. If not, go right ahead.
Okay.
Even when you go to like when there are roasts, like the Tom Brady roasts, I think there were certain guidelines they had previously beforehand. Like you can't talk about the owner of the New England Patriots, and then a comedian actually did that, and Tom Brady had to go up to him and say, "Don't talk about that shit." Like dropped it.
Yeah.
So I think you maybe need to establish some guidelines. Hey,
Fair.
I want you to be my best man at my speech. And I trust you implicitly. You're my best friend. You're my brother. I just in case, I want to just say, hey, let's just not talk about this
Fair.
thing. I think they'll be like, absolutely, bro. I appreciate that.
Well, going back to combining the two, okay, what I did at Joey's wedding. Okay, so I was the last speech at Joey D's wedding. I was one of two best men.
Okay.
And they let me go last because of my clear professionalism as a public speaker.
Right.
I do this for a living, so I think everybody anticipated
It would've been
me
hard to
having,
follow you.
Yeah, it'd be hard to follow me, so I think people kind of went that way. So I actually specifically remember because Joey gave his speech at my wedding months prior. So he had the unfair advantage of being able to set the stage.
Yeah.
So I used that in my speech where I highlighted what he did at my wedding. And I went along the lines of like, oh, guys, for those of you who don't know, Joey decided to dress up as the Pope at my wedding, pause for laughter, and decided to give a eulogy at my wedding. And I always knew that I was going to get the opportunity to one-up my best friend because he got married after me. So now we all get the pleasure of watching him squirm with anticipation of what I'm about to say. And then, but that made everybody laugh.
Right.
Why? Because it's like, dude, look at him. And this was Joe. This was literally Joey at the table.
Yes. Yeah, that's good. That's
He
good.
was tense.
He was
so
literally
tense.
like because he like. But again,
That's important,
I
though.
didn't say any. Like,
Joey, we all
but here's
watched
the
you.
thing.
Nothing wrong.
You're so
But
tense.
again, so if you guys want to learn to be funny, it's really, and comedians will tell you this, it's misdirection. Yeah. Misdirection is what causes a punchline. Like one of the things I did in his speech, and I'm going to use this as another one. What I did in his speech, you start with a quick punchline, as in, you know, our relationship truly started when he said the most romantic words to me ever during economics class. Do you want to get wings after class? Right? Very small joke. Like you misdirection, romantic, you want to get wings? Cool. Yeah. And then I proceeded to say, and we were talking at the bar, catching up, drinking cherry wheat ale and all that stuff. And I just couldn't help but wonder, like, all the things we had in common. I was just staring at him. And I couldn't help but think, damn, he has beautiful eyebrows. Like I just,
and everybody knows that.
Right. And, but okay, reason why I did that, it's something that everybody knows about him and repeatedly says about him.
Right.
So everybody in the room could relate. And I got laughs. So it's more about when you misdirect and then add something that everybody knows that creates that funny track.
That's great.
Just like what that girl did. Oh, you all thought that you were her best friend?
That's so hard.
That must be hard for
Yeah.
you. Like, and that's okay. It's not a funny topic.
Yeah.
It's just the delivery is funny.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally, man.
Yeah. And I think that's why filtering speeches got to be careful.
I
because
agree. Yeah, that
you
might
got to
have
be
been
careful.
a bit like, but definitely there's got to be some to avoid disasters like that. That can really, and it's much harder for the entertainer to uplift people back up again.
So, and I want to hear your point on this too. I do. But if you have to filter somebody that drastically,
Should they?
They probably shouldn't speak. Or if they're going to speak, you were to tell them, don't make a speech. Just, we love you guys. Cheers. It's fine. It's
And you
okay.
can even, and instead of coming across as the bad guy or the bad girl, just be like, we just want to maximize dance time. We want you to have that spotlight and to be able to raise your
deflect.
glass and say, hey, but we don't want speeches for
Yeah,
whatever.
you're deflecting like, oh, it's not just you.
It's not you, it's
not
me.
just you. We don't want anybody giving a speech.
Yeah.
Right.
People
You
are
know?
like, yeah, grandma.
You know?
Yeah,
What do you want to add to this? Like, is there anything else there?
I remember going to my ex-girlfriend's wedding with my now current wife.
That could have been awkward.
It could have been, but we had the Jerry Seinfeld, Elaine Bennis relationship. Okay. And I thought that it was great that we were able to kind of still keep what was still virginal in our relationship. It was a friendship. It was really cool. And, broke up on good terms. Never, it's like we just weren't compatible in that particular manner and stuff. And, we went to her second wedding, and her brother was always known to be a little dark.
Love dark humor.
me too.
I know. We all do. True story. We may be one way with you.
Yeah, right. We are.
But behind the scenes,
Close the doors.
Oh, boy.
do you see what we're wearing? We got the memo. Okay, we love dark humor, but it doesn't really work with every single audience. He got up there and he started his speech like this, packed with a bunch of like 200 people or whatever, and he said, here I am doing another speech, whatever, and I just wanted to say that a wedding, it's supposed to be a nice, happy thing, although a wedding is like a funeral at the same time. And everybody, I didn't know where he was going with it. Nobody did. And if you felt a little bit of awkwardness just now, imagine that being
200 people.
Replicated, rippled into 200 people. It just went, and you just heard the entire audience deflate.
Oh, he had their attention, all right.
Oh, he got their attention. And not only, I've never seen so many heads turn like I've been doing this whole podcast.
Bro.
Like everybody was just like, didn't know. And then you just heard, oh, because he meant to say that he's losing his brother.
I know.
Well,
Bro,
Why?
that's not a funny joke.
this video.
Don't bring death into a wedding.
No.
Don't bring a
Joey
funeral.
did at my wedding, and it was hysterical.
But it's how you do it.
That's
It
what
was
we're talking
hysterical.
about.
so
It
like,
was
like
so
you guys know
funny.
Anthony Jeselnik?
Oh, I love him.
Of course.
He is
All right,
dark.
I'm going to be honest with you. If Anthony Jeselnik was to do my speech and everyone knew who he was, he could get away with probably saying something
Even
about a
if
funeral at a wedding. It's how he says it. It's also knowing that's his shtick. I think if you have 200 people there, not everyone knows that's who the guy is. You ever do it? You ever like see someone speak and like maybe the front row, the immediate family is like laughing at what the guy's saying, but then everybody else is like, what's his
Yeah,
deal?
it's like an
They don't
inside
know
joke.
the person. They don't understand that's what he does. And everyone needs to know that's who you are, because if not, you're gonna
Yeah.
have like situations like that.
Yeah.
And he was very to himself and so on and so forth. He was
Yeah.
not an outgoing person. He's not like us.
No.
Yeah,
it
so-
didn't
so
vibe.
Nobody knew what
Yeah.
to expect. But when
Yeah.
he said that, what happens is he mismanaged their expectations.
Correct.
The truth is, everybody was like, how can you say something like
Correct.
that?
Yeah,
Correct.
So.
yeah. Well, this is by far the worst speech I've ever seen in my life, and this was actually the first thing that came up when I typed in worst wedding
it
speeches,
says.
and it's like just.
I just love where I love this scene already.
Here's the worst part. The worst part about this is that I'm not going to be able to clip this because it's so bad for so long. But I'm going to clip a portion of this for you guys to watch. I'm probably going to edit this because this is by far the worst speech I've ever heard in my life.
Oh my God.
It just gets worse and worse and worse. Just watch, ready? Watch this.
Racist, you guys. But you guys, I swear, I love black people. Hi, I'm Shannon. I've known Tracy
Black guy
for... Oh, God. I think so. So I don't quite know Anthony that well, but Tracy talked about you, like, nonstop. Seriously. And she'd be like, I mean, you do that. I'm like, I don't care. No, just kidding. Just. You guys were so cute together.
Look at the girl.
Yes. Smile.
till death do us part, Anthony. Seriously. You better take care of my girl. Because if you don't, I know where you live.
Let's go without problems.
Just kidding. But yeah, you guys are so cute. Like, you're part of the family. I swear to God, like, I'm not gonna be racist, you guys. I'm just saying, okay?
That's bad.
I'm gonna be racist, okay? No, just kidding. Wow. Wow. Of course, you guys are gonna get the interracial couples. Seriously.
Oh my God.
This is gross.
But you guys, I swear, I love Black people because you guys are the best. Like, my own daughter's great aunt is like the best woman. And
Oh my God.
I love you guys. Bless you.
I'm surprised they even clapped for her.
I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's bad. That's actually that's like funny, but also that's actually wildly problematic too.
So bad.
Do we have a
really-
shower in this office? Because after watching that,
You
that
can go to
was
the
just-
sink, pal, because that was
That was
you're
bad.
gonna take some time on
That
that.
was actually bad.
That was bad.
Yeah.
That was also the first thing that I thought made it bad was like, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and then
Come on.
No, you're not.
Well, it's not. It's just like
and that's I.
it's played. It was so obviously played.
That was so uncomfortable.
It was.
people.
Imagine being
What
there.
would we do in that situation? Do we cue the Grammy music? That's the question.
Okay.
Because we have that, by the way. If your friend, if your maid of honor, your best man, your parents are just bombing, we're going to do you a favor.
Yeah.
We're going to play a song, okay? It was from Dragonheart. It's the theme song. And it's going to be a song that just increasingly gets louder, and we're going to save you. I promise
You
you.
lower the mic, yeah. We've never really had to do that. We've done that.
Oh, I've had to.
Yeah, I know, but we really haven't had to do it much. Yeah, I mean, there was one time we had a speech go almost 30 minutes, and I'm like,
Oh my god.
yeah, no, that was not fun.
Where filtering comes, but like,
Yeah, I was going to say. That's
or you
weird.
know what? It's laying expectations. It's saying, hey, I need you to keep it 5 minutes
Or less.
or less. That's it.
But
you don't have to read it. Just
but, you know,
need those 5 minutes.
okay, I'll be honest. When I did Joey's, it was a long speech, but the only reason why it was a long speech is because
You can keep people's attention.
I
though.
did, but I did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That was the thing.
You're an
I did.
exception. There's some people that are exceptions to the rules, but
Yeah.
not everyone's like that. Most people are not like that.
Yeah.
But exception.
Well, guys, I think this is a great podcast. I thought this is we hit a lot of really interesting topics. I'm curious to see.
Subpar at best. I agree.
Subpar at best. As always, guys, you can find us on social media. He is at Patrick_Soldi.
Correct.
He is at Aldo Ryan, and I am at official Jon Divine. We are doing this podcast to really entertain you guys, but also educate you. If you are a bride, groom, or couple that is getting married in the near future, and you are in need of entertainment, hopefully not only do we educate you on how to plan or to prepare for your wedding, but we could also show you some really cool stuff for you to engage and entertain your guests at your party and make it the most amazing day possible. Again, as always, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one. Later.
Peace.